Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome to these conversations about things that matter in the second half. In fact, if you haven't seen the earlier videos, I would encourage you to take a look back at the series here and see how we began this talk about how experience shapes us. Last time we talked about how when something happens, then we interpret it, and then we form a belief, and out of that we make decisions about the next time things come along. But I'm sure you've noticed that you can have two people going through the same experience but arriving at very different conclusions. For example, in your family, maybe you and another sibling growing up in the same home, having all the same kinds of experiences, have ended up in very different places. Well, that's because it's not the experience that changes you, it's the interpretation of the experience that shapes you. Boy, that's an insight for us to understand ourselves a little bit more and understanding other people as well. Why do they arrive at such a different place from going through the same thing? So let's pay attention to ourselves in how we're interpreting these events. And I encourage you to, when you encounter an experience, especially if it's an emotional experience, if there's something emotional that really kind of grips you, be careful of the common mistake of instantly generalizing something, instantly coming to some kind of deep life conclusion and saying, boy, I'll never let that happen again. And it grips you and really affects your decisions going forward. So when you are in an experience that is pretty intense, here's what I suggest you do, is you slow everything down. You just consciously choose, I am not going to arrive at a big conclusion here on these things. I'm going to stop and pause enough. I'm going to think this through. And one way to think it through is to grab your journal and to write it out. And just having to write something out makes you slow down and organize your thoughts and work through your emotions. And so you write things out in a journal and you pause and you choose to simply not come to a big conclusion about anything. You're going to wait for more data, more interpretation, or more information to come to you. Because it's quite possible you don't have all the information. And if you did have all the information, it might significantly change your interpretation of the event. So there's a little bit of a wisdom here that requires you to just slow things down. And that way we don't jump to wrong conclusions. So as you think about significant things that have happened in your life, maybe this is a good time for you to go back over and see, is there more information perhaps that I was missing that needs to inform me before I form beliefs about whatever the event was or whatever was said or whatever the people thought about you. Really pause and make sure that you have enough information before you jump to conclusions. And even when you do come to a conclusion, hold it lightly, because you just might come across more information that would change things even again. This is part of being wise and not being stuck from your past experiences.